everyone, my name's Katie Robertson and I am the founder and director for The Anchor, and I want to officially welcome you to our first Anchor at Home of the season. We are so glad you're here with us. If you're in a watch party with family and friends, or if you're watching on your own, we are thrilled you're with us. And I want to welcome you here into my home in Gig Harbor, Washington, where The Anchor all began. And for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, I do like to share the briefest history of how it all began. And it was shortly after the biggest storm hit my life, when my oldest daughter, Karina, passed away after a 5-year battle with leukemia. And it was during that time, that journey and the aftermath, which is that time that has been now. And I saw our faith in Jesus hold us so strong, for myself, for Karina during that journey, and for our whole family. And I just developed a passion to share with everyone how real Jesus is. We have seen him in the darkest of days, and I just had such a desire to want to get the word out. He is real. So I thought, what can we do? Let's gather women together and share this news. So I gathered my friends together in my living room right here, and we decided to just start praying and talking about what this could look like. And we came up with an idea of gathering women of all ages together, and that we could share the hope that we have found in knowing Jesus. And so we decided, yep, we're going to do it. Let's come up with a name. And this is where the crazy part with The Anchor all gets going. And that is when I thought, as kind of a joke, I saw this pillow. It all started with the old pillow here, and I don't bring it out very often. But I looked over and I saw The Anchor, and I said, what if we call it The Anchor? And we kind of laughed and thought, oh yeah. But then as we looked at it, we really saw the symbolism in it, the strength, the steadfastness. I noticed a cross, and then just recently, as like of yesterday, I really noticed this. There is the woman symbol, the circle with the cross. And I thought, wow, add that swoosh on there, and you've got an anchor woman. And an anchor woman shares news. And I thought, that is really the message behind The Anchor. We want to get the great news out about who Jesus is and the hope he really brings. So with that, I thought, is there a Bible verse even with anchor in it? At that time, I'd never read one or remembered reading one. And in my concordance, I found Hebrews 6:19, the perfect verse. We have this hope, Jesus as an anchor for the soul, firm and secure. I'm like, where has this verse been all my life? It was so great. So that is what we founded The Anchor on. It sums up the message of hope that we want to bring. And then we also founded it on Hebrews 10:24 and 25. And it says this, it says, let's not stop meeting together as some are in the habit of doing, which we have found pandemics do for us. Let's not stop meeting. Let's encourage each other all the more until we see the day approaching. And that is what our hope and prayer for all of you is, that through The Anchor, you would be encouraged with hope and light that Jesus brings, and that you'd be anchored in your faith wherever you are on that journey. You might be new to this or been walking with the Lord a long time, that you would be anchored in your friendships, old and new. So we're so glad you're here. And at this time of The Anchor, we like to start with music. And tonight we are so privileged to have all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, Emily Daniels. And Emily has sung for us before. She is an upcoming country singer-songwriter, and she has a special song she's chosen to share with The Anchor tonight. And she's had amazing voice coaches, which you can tell, Carrie Underwood and Faith Hill, and we're just thrilled she's here with us tonight. I do like to mention she loves fashion. Her signature color is red, so it's always fun to check out how she's incorporated that in her outfit. So thank you, Emily, for sharing with us tonight.
Hey Anchor family, my name is Emily Daniels, and I'm a country singer-songwriter in Nashville. Thank you again, Katie, for having me. I always love doing these for y'all and being a small part of what y'all are doing. And so Katie asked me to sing a song about hope and light this time, and I think it's so interesting because those are very positive, encouraging words, but you don't feel like you need those until you're in a place of darkness and discouragement. So I picked a song that kind of meets you wherever you're at. If you are in a place of discouragement where you need that hope and light. The song is called Smile by Nat King Cole, and it's just kind of, to me, it means that even if you're in a place where you feel like crying, where you're spent, it's encouraging you to smile, not because everything's okay and not because you're faking it, but that there is going to be a reason for you to smile one day, even if you can't see it right now. So it's just kind of giving you something to hold on to, a hope to hold on to, and that there's going to be light at the end of that tunnel that you're at. So smile knowing that you're not at the end yet. So I hope y'all enjoy, and thank you again, Katie. Smile when your heart is aching. Smile even when it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through for you. Light up your face with gladness, hide every trace of sadness, although a tear may be ever so near. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find life is still worthwhile if you just smile. That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find life is still worthwhile if you just smile.
Thank you, Emily, for your gift of music. That was beautiful. The lyrics of that song were so perfect, and thank you for encouraging us with hope and light this evening. Now, at this time is really one of my favorite times of the anchor, and it's called the anchor moment. And that's a time where we get to hear from someone a little bit about themselves, their faith journey, and a time they've had an anchor moment, or a time when their faith's been anchored, grounded, or they've really seen Jesus to be real. So tonight we are really thankful we get to hear from someone who lives right here in our town. We're thankful we get to, I should say first of all, we're so thankful we get to be in person because during the pandemic we have not had our usual anchor moment interview. So tonight we get to be back together. So exciting that we get to be in person and hear the story from Emily Lex, who lives here in our harbor, and we're just thankful to have her. I want to say a few things about her before she gets started. She recently just had this book published, Freely and Lightly, which she will share a little more on, and this adorable book, Twirl, her first children's book, which came out just 2 days ago. And I wanted to read just the couple little sentences that just describe Emily so well. I'm so excited she's sharing. It says, in whatever she does, Emily desires to shine a light on the beauty, goodness, and truth all around us so that we might see more clearly who God is and who we are. So just so excited we get to hear from you. And
Thank you.
So first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I'm Emily. I'm married to my first boyfriend. I don't know if you knew that. My first one from college. His name is Ryan. We have 4 kids. Ethan is 17. Brady is 16. Mason is 13. And Audrey is 11. So 1 little girl and 3 boys. I had a couple of things that I wanted to be when I was a little girl. I wanted to be a mom, most of all, a teacher, an artist, and a morning talk show host. So this is like my morning talk show host moment.
Perfect.
But I am a mom, which I'm so thankful for. And then also I've taught some online classes for artwork, and here I am as an artist and now a writer. So it has been a long and winding career path for me. I was a blogger for a long time, and then now moving into writing and illustrating. So super fun.
So fun. Well, now we'd like to hear a little bit about your faith journey.
Okay, I grew up in a Christian home. Faith has always been really important to me, and I went to a Christian college. I've always just been involved in church and church activities. I would say maybe it was a little quiet. Like it was just something that was really deeply personal to me, but not something that was really outward. And in my mid 30s, so 5-7 years ago, I just started having this time in my life where it was like everything on the outside was really good. I had all of the like dreams that I really wanted, and yet for some reason on the inside I was still anxious and insecure and just like unsatisfied with life, even though it felt like that was so wrong to be unsatisfied. And it just put me on this journey of, gosh, maybe what's happening is I'm looking for my identity and my worth and my value in things that just aren't, they were never meant to deliver those things. And so it has been a long process. That was what this Freely and Lightly book is about, this long process of just allowing God to really set my heart free from just the like trying so hard to find my value in other places. This book is based off of this scripture. Can I read it to you? It is Matthew 11:28 through 30 in the Message version. And when I first read this, I kind of came to a point where I was like, gosh, I am just exhausted. And so this language was like exactly what my soul needed to hear. Okay. Are you tired, worn out, burnt out on religion? Come to me, get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. So that is what this story is about. It truly, over the last handful of years, God's just reoriented me to really trust in who he is, that he is good, that I'm loved, that my identity is set and secure, and I don't need to look outward for it. And I'm not there yet, but I know that I will continue to, as I follow him, will just be able to understand what it's like to be quietly confident. That's truly my desire.
I love it. I love that it is incorporated in the title, Freely and Lightly. I love that. Well, and now we'd like to hear, because that was so amazing to hear that, an anchor moment, like a time in your life you've really seen the Lord really real and your faith's been anchored. Do you have that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I have a bunch of them, and I think that really what it comes down to is, am I slow? Is my life slow enough to pay attention to God's presence? Because I think he is with us all the time, and he's always wanting to remind us of who he is and to really anchor our faith. Am I slow enough in my life, and am I quiet? Which is a little hard with 4 kids and like a busy life and all of that, but those are some of the practices that I've worked just trying to incorporate into my life so that I can hear him, so that I can be anchored in my faith, so that I'm not just like waffling all over the place. So one of those times was I went into my closet, which is where I kind of go when I'm like desperate to hear him. Went into my closet and I was like, okay, God, who am I? Like, what do you want me to do? And what I heard in my spirit was be an artist. And I mean, I don't think that God's ever going to tell us who we are and have it like be really jarring. Like, I know that I am an artist and I've always been very creative, but I don't know that I would have called myself an artist. And so from that time I thought, okay, if he calls me an artist, I need to practice that. And so I started this journey of painting. I decided I'm going to paint one painting every day for the entire year. So I did 365 little watercolor paintings. That was before I had signed a contract to write a book. And so I just love how he works, but many of those paintings are in this book. So it was like I was already working on the book before I even knew. And it also gave me that confidence to be able to illustrate a children's book, which has been my biggest dream of all dreams. And so that has been such an anchor for me of like, oh, he calls me an artist. I doubt it all the time. And I know there's better artists than me, but also that's what he calls me. And so I just want to be that.
Wow, I love it. And it is true, everyone, if you do get this book, which I hope you do, the paintings in it are so detailed and beautiful. And you said you had a few. Is there another time that you've had that moment where you heard the Lord say, you're an artist, but is there another moment that you've had that really kind of grounded your faith, that you knew he was really with you?
I mean, just the other day, I was driving over the bridge. So we live in Gig Harbor. We have to cross the bridge from the main area. And I feel like if I am quiet, and I was by myself in the car, and you just kind of like get a sense of him just like being near. And in that time, I always cry. I'm a crier. But it's just this like, oh gosh, he listens to me. He hears me. And I have this like, I just wanted a hug in that moment. And so he's not present to physically give us a hug,
right.
But it still just felt like, oh, he sees me. He hears me. It's like, I feel that hug. And then last night I was with some young ladies and told that story, and she was like, that's so crazy, because I just wrote down on this little piece of paper that I just want a hug from God. So I was able to physically hug her, and it just feels like, I mean, don't we kind of all sort of want that, maybe especially coming out of isolation for so long?
Pandemic.
And so
Yes.
I just think if we will listen, I think he will stir up those things in our hearts, and he's near, and he's good, and he loves us.
I love that message. That is really good. It's just the amazing love that he has. What I also wanted to know is on this, you have to almost look a little closer how darling this book is. How did you come up with the title Twirl? And what does that, I think there's more to this book for kids. It might be for us grown-ups too. So if you could tell a little more about that.
Yeah, I read it. There's a whole chapter in Freely and Lightly. Freely and Lightly is like the book for women, for grown-ups. Twirl is the same message, but for little girls. And so the idea of twirling, I remember having this image of a little girl who's just like, her hands are back and her hair is floating in the wind, and she's just twirling without a care. And the Lord spoke to my heart like, Emily, I am so pleased with who you are. You are my daughter. I just want you to twirl. And for a lot of years, I'm like, that's so sweet. But like, what does that mean? I don't know what that means. And so again, another journey of just trying to explore, what does that look like to be a little girl in a grown-up body twirling? And it's not physically twirling, but I think that what it is not looking to the left or the right, not comparing yourself to the ways that other people are living and moving and breathing and their talents and their gifts, but instead just believing that who God made you is enough and wonderful and on purpose, and then being who that person is. So that's the little girl in this story. Her name is Audrey, which is my daughter's name, but you can tell she's actually me. I mean, she's got her little red hair.
Totally has her red hair, and, adorable.
And she goes on this little journey, and she sees how her animal friends are twirling, and she tries to twirl like them, and she just can't. Until finally, at the end, she realizes God made her in her own special way, and she can twirl confidently because he is good and he loves her.
Yes, I really believe this book is for all of us to read. It's really inspiring. I totally can relate. It really speaks to my heart. I've always loved that dress to twirling when I was a little girl. And I just finished reading it to my granddaughter on FaceTime in North Carolina, and she loved it. She is all into twirling right now, but just the message really for us grown-ups, moms.
For sure.
It says a lot to not care what anyone is thinking, or just to be who the Lord has created you to be. That is the real message. He's got the perfect story and plan for us. So, oh wow, that was so great. I love it. I'm so excited for you. I can't wait to, everyone's going to be buying these books. So fun. We can't wait to share them with our children and our grandchildren and ourselves. And we're just so thankful that you could be here with us tonight in person. And we can't wait till we're all in person for the anchor, but so thankful this worked out. So thanks again for coming and joining us.
You're welcome.
So now at this time in the anchor, we have our message for the evening, and we're very privileged to get to hear from Leslie Parrott. And Leslie is a New York Times best-selling author, and she's a very good friend of mine. I'm so thankful we share a kindred passion to love sharing about the great news of who Jesus is and the relationship you can have with him. And she's got a special message tonight. She actually lives in Seattle. She's a family and marriage therapist. She has 2 college-age sons, and she lives with her husband in Seattle. So we are so thankful to have Leslie share with us tonight.
What a special privilege it is for me to be a part of this very first anchor gathering of a new season. I just am so excited to be a part of this with you, and coming from my own kitchen in Seattle and imagining you in intimate circles everywhere, but also that intimacy takes on a grander thing. It just feels better when you know you're connected with women all around the country, and in some cases around the world, who are sharing this moment together. It's just the best kind of intimacy. And I had to take a minute to brag on Katie, who is a dear friend, and you guys have fallen in love with her as I have. You see her vision, you see her energy, her commitment to this amazing movement to encourage women. And everything you see on camera, she is behind the scenes even more so. But what you don't see, and I just need to take a second to brag on, are the women on the board of the Anchor, who I've gotten a sneak peek into, not because I've worked as hard as them, but because I've observed them in action behind the scenes. And let me tell you, these women rock. They are so committed to you. They have such vision. They're so savvy. It reminds me of that quote, that famous quote by Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals, and I would add the word disciples, can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. And these women embody that quote. And this anchor is really something that they have created with you in mind. And I just so love getting you to be a part of it. What a powerful ministry. Also, when Katie explained to me that the theme for this new year was hope and light, everything in my soul just said yes and amen. What a perfect theme. Given the complexity of this world, you know, we thought we'd move through some darkness and turned a corner, but lo and behold, no, things are complicated. But also, we all have our own stories in the big story that we're sharing, and hope and light. It was like my heart just leapt up in answer to that. Yes, that's everything I need, and maybe you're feeling the same way. And then as I was pondering that theme, I got a little nudge, and we'll see if it was a holy nudge or if it was just a wacky Leslie Parrott idea. But I was reminded of one of my favorite little obsessions I'm super smitten with. In fact, I discovered this little thing about a decade ago when I was celebrating my 50th birthday. And it was that kind of an occasion where I wanted to mark it with a little bit of added joy and sparkle. And I was looking for something fun, but nothing elaborate. And I stumbled onto these little things called flying wish papers. Flying wish papers. Maybe some of you are totally in on this. I guess it's a little European tradition that now is making its way across the pond. But anyway, it's just this magical little celebration thing, and it's the simplest thing ever, and yet it's just such a beautiful thing to do. It's so full of grace. And so I'm going to use these flying wish papers as sort of a little symbolic parable, hopefully to help us remember just some of the truths about the journey we're walking and how to stay hope and light. Well, the first step in using these funny little wish papers is just simply to take them and take a little pencil and inscribe a wish on the paper. Just a little crisp, beautiful piece of what feels like flimsy tissue paper. But it's just to name your wish. And we all have wishes. We all have hopes. And inscribing that wish there's nothing magical about inscribing a wish or making a wish, but there is a little bit of magic in just naming something you're hoping for. Just letting your heart be full of expectancy and saying, this is my hope, this is my wish, this is my dream. And there's actually even a little bit of magic in doing that in the company of people who love you, who will remind you of it, who will be mindful of it, who will continue to cheer you on and support you in it, sometimes maybe even hold you accountable to it if it's a wish or a dream that's kind of demanding something hard of you, and actually will just in that way create some magic to be a part of making that happen for you. That's what the anchor's about. We're women. I love this quote that I heard Anne Lamott speak many years ago, and I don't even think it was her original quote. I think it was probably attributed to someone else, maybe Rumi, but in her talk, she said, all we're really doing is just walking each other home. And I just pictured linking arms with amazing women and walking each other home on this journey, the spiritual journey of life. And that's what we do when we name a hope and a dream and a wish in a circle. So that's kind of where our journey starts for any new season, for any new year, no matter what the world is like. But honestly, there's no magic in writing a wish or making a wish. But where my heart goes is when that hope transforms itself into a prayer. And not only are we inscribing it on a piece of paper, but we're whispering it from our deepest, innermost self and sending it up to God, with all of the faith we can muster and all the trust in His love as a prayer. Those whispered prayers, sometimes we can't even wrap our words around prayers. They're aching, sighs and groans and wordless desires that are so deep they rise from the depths of our soul, because the things we hope for and wish for are not just lighthearted. They are the deepest needs we see in our world, in the people we love, the things we long for, the things we know must happen, and they're heavy sometimes, right? They're heavy. They're big. They take all of us. I love this poet, this darling Welsh poet from the 1600s, George Herbert, who wrote this beautiful, famous poem on prayer, and it's just as fresh and current as if it was written 5 minutes ago. But one of the images that he speaks in that poetry about prayer is reversed thunder. Think about that, reverse thunder. Process that. Here is a wish, a hope, a prayer that we're voicing to God, and we're sending it up quietly. But what He helps us to imagine is, as it rises, as this prayer flies, like these little flying wish papers up to God, it takes on such a loudness because God gives us His full attention and inclines His ear to us and hears us. It's like a crack of thunder, the power and the way it's heard in heaven. Boy, I love that. My little wish, my deepest hope, my prayer gathers from my whispered heart all the way up to heaven as a crack of thunder, reverse thunder. I love it. But anyway, the first step is inscribing a wish. It's as simple as that. And we all have them. It doesn't matter whether you're turning 50 or now you're a decade beyond that. We all live with expectancy. I don't want to forget to say this, but one of the prayers that's really become like a life verse for me that helps me nearly every day is Psalm 5. And I actually love the Message paraphrase of this, but it's just, it's a heartfelt daily prayer that King David prayed. And he just said, God, do you hear me? Do you hear my cries and aching groans? Every morning I'm at it again. Every morning I spread out the pieces of my life on your altar and wait for fire to descend. Wow. Just that, spread out the pieces of my life. These are my hopes. These are my dreams. These are my wishes, God. I'm spreading them out before you, waiting for your sacred movement in my life. Inscribe a wish. That's the first step. Well, the next step in this little tradition that's so symbolic for a spiritual journey of hope and light is a paradoxical one. And it caught me off guard. Maybe you already know what's coming. You take that little inscribed paper and you crumple it up into a little wad. What? Oh my goodness, what is happening? Why would I crumple my wish? Well, here's the thing. Even though it's so paradoxical and a bit surprising, actually, it's not that surprising, right? Because we all know that this life is an epic journey. It's somewhat of a quest, and that's why all great literature, all great literature basically, has a hero who's on a journey, on a quest. Either it's a great battle or it's a great adventure, from the Iliad to the Odyssey, all the way down to, this darling little book. If you guys discovered it with the rest of the world, it's not like I'm in on some secret. Everybody adores it. The Boy, the Horse, the Fox, and the Mole. I might not get the animals in the right order, but so precious. But you get the feeling of journey, even the simplest little books. All of my favorites. One thing Katie and I love is the book Hind's Feet on High Places. It's an old spiritual classic with a little hero, not with a heroic name. Her name is Little Much Afraid, who goes on a journey to the high places, and in the end, her name transforms to grace and glory. It's a journey. We know that the second we write our wish down, we pray that prayer from our deepest heart, we're stepping right outside our comfort zone and into a crumpling moment, right? No matter what that is, whether we're falling in love and we're saying yes to stepping into marriage and we're in with all our heart, there's going to be the crumpling moment of conflict, right? That fight. In fact, one of the things I get to do in my work with my husband Les is some special events for couples called Fight Night. And we always say, when we're with couples talking about conflict and how can you navigate that and continue to be deeply in love, we always say, conflict is the price you pay for deepening intimacy. It's crumpling. But here's the thing about the crumpling moment. As soon as you make your wish, you step outside your comfort zone, wham, there's a crumpling. But here is the surprise that comes after the crumpling moment. When you stay in there with your hope, with your dream, with your wish, when you don't give up, when you offer forgiveness, when you offer grace, whether it's parenting or marriage or your vocational journey or some education you're trying to achieve, even just buying a house that needs to be redone. I mean, there's the moment of dream and vision, and then there's the crumpling moment, right? No matter what it is, if you stay in there and stick with the journey, the next step with these little flying wishes is you take that crumpled paper and you unfurl it and smooth it out. And now, even though it's damaged goods, it has a certain texture and strength to it that it never had before. That flimsy little crisp, fresh piece of tissue paper didn't have the kind of strength and texture it would need to be solid. And that's what happens when we step out on this journey, endure the crumpling moment. And I got to tell you that here's the fun of this. This is where these little flying wish papers get so amazing. So then you take these wish papers and you build them into a little shape that's kind of like a candle, but it's a little tower. And this is the moment of magic, because you take a flame and you set them ablaze. Now I'm gonna try to do this. I don't know if it's gonna even show up on the camera, because this is quite experimental, but let's see if I can make this work. Let's see if one's gonna fly. You can barely see the top of a flame, and then here it burns down, and then woo, it flew off camera. Okay, let's see if I can try it one more time. Okay, girls, you're having fun with me. I'm just experimenting. I wanna share this magical moment with you. Let's see if I can get this one to fly. Is it gonna fly up? Yay! Did you catch that? That's a lot of fanfare for a very small payoff. I wish you could be here to see how magical it is when they fly up to the ceiling, but I don't have the camera skills to pan up, so sorry about that. But you guys probably have enjoyed these on your own, but I gotta just tell you, here's the thing. It's just like that prayer, that Psalm 5, spread out the pieces of your life on the altar and wait for fire to descend. We go in the flame. There's a moment of surrender. we surrender our dream to a higher calling. We're no longer about, I want my wish to come true. We're about, God, what is the big wish you have in this story? And how can I be stepping into my calling and your purposes? I'm just to share a little bit of a dramatic story. My sweet friend Claire, she's probably one of my closest besties. She had the dream of having a baby, and she had the precious little daughter, Sarah Grace. But when her daughter came prematurely, and I can relate to that, I had a little 1-pound preemie that rocked my universe. But she had severe brain damage and cerebral palsy. So now this precious little Sarah Grace is 19, and there have been just moments of deep calling all along the way. She's paralyzed and wheelchair bound. Her brain damage causes her to be nonverbal, but she's fully engaged. She's a bright spirit at 19. She's very childlike and precious, but dream calling, the wish, the crumpling, the flame, but then the rising. And I got to tell you, one of the absolute delights of my life over this last pandemic year was that I got to set up this sweet little tradition and ritual twice a week with Claire and little Sarah Grace. And we would take an hour and have Bible, books, and breakfast, we call it. And Sarah, in her nonverbal way, but she uses an iPad with pictures to communicate, and she uses all of her nonverbals. She has use of one of her hands, and so we celebrate together. She can't wait to tell me about her life. She uses her iPad, and we catch up while she eats her little breakfast. We have little times where we have cheers together, me with my green tea and her with her little sippy cup of water and her mama's cup of coffee. And first, we read the Bible together. We use that little Sarah Lloyd Jones storybook Bible, which I think actually might be my favorite translation of scriptures of all time. If you haven't discovered it, do it. It's not for kids. Let me just tell you, it's underlined. I cry when I read it. But anyway, we've read through that countless times, cover to cover. We share literally the deepest communion together. That precious girl with all of the calling wrapped up in her care is an amazing gift, and her mama suffers. She bumps up against the dreams she had for her, especially this year when my son Jackson and all of Sarah's peers were going off to college, and that's never going to be a possibility for Sarah. She'll always be having a life that doesn't have that kind of a story. And there's the deepest grief, and she spreads that back out on the altar and waits for fire to descend. It's the arc of our lives, right? God wants to give us every good dream and every good gift. But the promise is, no matter what, that our lives will be used for a deeper purpose. I have to kind of just drive home the theme of flying wishes for hope and light, because all I could think about was the power of that sweet little movie Up, right? I mean, here's the literal flying wish. You guys all remember it came out, a little over a decade ago, but grumpy, grieving Carl has lost his dear wife, Ellie. And in the wake of all of that loss, you guys remember, he takes this iconic, colorful home that they have filled with their wishes and dreams and memories over a lifetime, ties balloons to it in the magic of Disney Pixar, and flies it off toward Paradise Falls. Why Paradise Falls? Well, you guys remember Ellie, when he met her, was this scrappy little tomgirl who was had an adventurous soul and wanted to go to this amazing place called Paradise Falls in South America. In her little lisp, it's like America, but South. And immediately when she meets shy, quiet Carl, but also with the heart of an adventurer. She inducts him into her little adventure club by pinning a grape soda badge on his chest and with a safety pin, and then giving him a big challenge, which you guys probably remember from the movie. He had to walk across this high beam to grab a balloon, which he promptly fell through and broke his arm, as if to illustrate, yep, you step out of your comfort zone when you say yes to a hope, to a dream, to an adventure. But their cute little adventure club eventually turns into a darling marriage, and I defy you to watch the little montage showing the arc of their lifetime marriage without dissolving into tears. It's the most darling thing I've ever seen as a marriage and family therapist. But anyway, you know that eventually they face so many hard things. Together, they go through the heartbreak of infertility, and eventually, through life setbacks, are never able to save enough money to go to Ellie's beloved Paradise Falls before illness and age steals her away. And Carl is left grieving, and he's desperate because he thinks she didn't get her dream fulfilled, and he's failed, and he's lost his precious gift. And in the wake of all that trauma, he heads off to this last desperate attempt to fly and make her wish come true. But here's the deal. You guys already know the story. Little Russell, a lonely, abandoned wilderness explorer who needs a mentor and a friend, actually becomes the fulfillment of Ellie's wish, because Carl's transformed in the process of the dream journey, and he's able to turn his grief into a generous, giving heart, and turn his his grumpiness into kindness and love for Carl over a lot of time and a fun journey. But that's it. That's everything. The fires of transformation, the magic moment where the wish burns down to nothing and then takes flight like a shooting star. Hope and light. These little flying wishes are nothing more than just a little symbol. But the thing is, what they symbolize is deep truth that I really believe God offers us in our spiritual journeys. And I hope that you'll think about each stage of that, the inscribing of the prayer in your heart to God, the crumpling moment when it happens. I hope you'll pick yourself up and smooth your heart back out and let God use you, now resilient with texture. I have to say, I don't know a story more powerful to illustrate this truth than the one the founder of the Anchor offers with her life story, with her precious little Karina, who fought the battle with cancer, and Katie, who in the grief of that loss turned her grief into the calling that started this anchor. I don't know what you're walking through tonight. For me, in my own life, just total vulnerability. I'm in the winds of transition with my two boys. I just dropped off one of my boys far away to Holland, Michigan, where he's starting his freshman year, and he's had a complicated health journey. And because of that, he's got a little bit of social anxiety, and I am sending up prayers nonstop, like flying wishes, to wrap his year, this journey that I know will include a lot of crumpling, even though he's pursuing a dream. I have another boy I'm getting ready to deliver to the UK. He's headed to study at Oxford, which kind of blows my mind. It's been adorable getting him prepped for it. He'll have to wear a little white bow tie and a black academic gown just to go to class or take an exam. I'm sending up flying wishes. I'm so excited for him, but this will be the challenge of his lifetime, and he will face many crumplings. There will be a blaze, but I'm asking God to use this in a bigger way. And I know you're praying your prayers. My hope is that you will be flooded with hope and know that as you step out of your comfort zone, pursuing your dreams, you can trust God in that whole process to use you to be hope and light around you, to fill you with hope and light, and to use you to become these little shooting stars of hope and light to those around you. God bless you.
Thank you, Leslie, so much for your message. It was just inspiring with hope and light. We just love that, that visual of the wish papers and writing down that hope and prayer that the Lord sees our hearts and wants to answer us in a special way and knows us and has that perfect plan for us. Thank you again so much. Now, at this time, after the message, there is in our watch party kit some discussion questions. So if you're in a watch party with friends and family, you could get those now. They're in the description on the YouTube, or you can find them online at our website, and you can have a time with discussing these questions, and we hope that you're encouraged and inspired by those with each other. And now it's time for the raffle, and we usually raffle off our blue trademark Glassy Baby with our Etched Anchor logo, and we also have white that represents hope. That this time we are adding another color to our theme colors, and it's this khaki gold color. Glassy Baby represents friendship. And you can go online at our website, theanchorgathering.com, and sign your name in for the raffle. You've got until 9 o'clock tonight. This will be etched, and it comes with our little anchor verse, Hebrews 6:19, in the Glassy Baby box, ready to go. So we hope you can join us in the raffle. And then at this time, before we end, we'd just love to ask you to come on board and help us to get the word out there. If you could share this YouTube link with your family and friends everywhere across the country, in another country too, wherever you can share this news, it'd be great. And we'd love for you to subscribe to our website, theanchorgathering.com, and also our YouTube channel. And if you could help share and like us on Instagram and Facebook, all the information is on the screen. So we're just so thankful you've joined us tonight. We will look so forward to seeing you next time. Until then, stay anchored, and we will see you soon.